Hey guys, it's Amit from Unlimited Elements. Today I've encountered a post by Nee in the group Elementor community, which he's asking how can I achieve this kind of boxes that are showing my recent projects dynamically from posts. So I'm going to make a tutorial on how to do that exactly. So the first thing we're going to want to do is create the HTML for this. So I'm in CodePen and I've started a little bit doing this with the display grid, and inside the grid there are three blank items right now, and I will continue now. So the first thing we're going to have on top is the item image. And inside the item image we are going to have a tag and the title. So let's make the tag. We'll call that, we'll put inside London, and we'll call that item tag. Cool. And underneath will be the title. We'll call that project title. We're not seeing anything since we're on a black background, so let's make this image show an image. I have a URL over here for a placeholder image. Background style equals background image URL, and this is the background. Cool, it's showing. And we can see our text. So now we need to style this a little bit. So the grid item, let's center the text and make it white. Item image, text align, center, color white, and we'll add some padding from top and bottom. Looks cool. And we can style the subtitle and title. So let's say item image, item tag. The font size can be, let's say, 20 pixels. Let's look at this again. Okay, I see text transform uppercase. And that's about it. We can also add some padding bottom. Looks good. Same thing for the title. I think over here we'll just make a font size, bigger font size. Let's say 42 pixels. I think that's looking pretty good. And we want to space this grid a little bit more. Let's say a gap of 40 pixels. And we will make this as an attribute that the user can change. So we don't have to be exact now since everything should be editable and dynamic. So that's about it, I think. Next thing we're going to do, let's copy this into Photoshop. So we can get the color, the background color. Looks good. And the color of the text doesn't really matter since it's editable. And we can get some lorem ipsum for this description. Just as a placeholder for now. Item description. Paste that in. Looking good. We can add a little bit of padding and align that to the center. I always like giving line height as a default. I use EM for that. And we can make the font size a little bit bigger. That's about it. Let's add the button. Let's see the design. Okay, it's a rounded button with the words "Take a tour." I'm going to add an A tag. This will open the post link. And we can add the text. Okay, let's wrap that into a div so it breaks a line. Cool, looks good. Let's give it the class. Button is a bit too general. I think we'll go for item description. Button. Looks good. Display inline block so we can design our button. Text decoration, none to take off the underline. Color black. Border 1 pixel solid black. And 1 pixel. Let's add some padding. And some border. Radius. Looking good. Looking good. Margin. Top. Nice. Okay, so we have our box set up, and the next step is to create the widget in Elementor. So to create the widget in Elementor, I'm using unlimited elements. Let's jump into WordPress, unlimited elements, and press add add-on. We'll call this recent projects list. And I'm going to add that, double click, and jump into HTML. Let's copy the HTML. Looking good. And we can copy the CSS as well. Looking good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some attributes. The first attribute will be post list. This will give us the option to take some of the data from the post and insert it into the items. I'm deleting the last two items, and I'm taking the HTML of the first item, replacing it with put items tag attribute from the right sidebar, and in the item HTML I'm pasting the HTML for the add-on. And now I'm going to go one by one and replace all these static fields with dynamic fields that are going to come from item post list. First thing, we have the image URL. Let's take that from the image. Next thing, we have the tag. I'm going to use the tag list for that. Next thing is the title. Looking good. We have the description, so I'm going to use intro. We have the link, and that's about it. Looking good. Let's make 3 more attributes. The first one will be for button text. I'm going to use a text field for that. And we want the default value to be take a tour. If we want the font to be editable, we need to check mark. And we replace this over here. We need to go from item to main, and we can see the attribute we've created. I'm adding pipe raw and for it to accept HTML changes that are going to come from font changes if someone decides to change the font. Another attribute I want is the gap, grid gap. I want this to be editable. I'm going to use a number field. I want the suffix to be none and the default value to be 40. And we'll replace this 40 with the grid gap. Now this will be editable. And another thing I want to do is, since I want it to be responsive, and I want the user to be able to decide 3 different grid types, one for tablet, one for mobile, and one for desktop. For the example, I'm going to do a field for the number of items in a row on desktop. And that's going to be 3. Excuse me, over here we need to write the name of the attribute. And over here is the default value. We'll replace that with this attribute. Now I don't want to start making media queries for tablet and mobile, but that's how you achieve if you want different values for different devices. Cool, this is looking good. Let's test it out. So save, pages. Let's add a new page. We'll call it recent projects. Edit with Elementor. Let's scroll down and we have our recent projects. Drag that inside. And cool, it's working exactly as we wanted. Very, very cool. Let's try to change the amount of items in a row. maybe change the gap between them. I think that's perfect. So if you have any questions, please post them in the comments as usual. And any suggestions are also welcome. Thank you for joining, and see you next time.